Welcome to Dungeons and Dragons, Tomb of Annihilation. And you guys are still muted. Oh, crap. Okay. Hey, there we go. Sorry, folks. Hey, it's a little bit of that every time. I don't have the shortcuts worked in.
Professional.
Oh, indeed. All right, so welcome everybody once again to another happy edition of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, episode 30.
My God.
We Can Fly. Yes, 30. There's a lot of episodes. So, how about we do introductions first and then we'll do a recap. So, we'll start with our illustrious Games Master or Dungeon Master, down in the bottom right corner there, Kashcah.
Hello. Hi, how's it going?
And then moving around from her, we've got Vorn, the NPC who we are leaving behind.
So we can get rid of him.
Right, I'm going to have to put Artis and Dragonbait in there temporarily. At least until we kill them off. And then next to him, we've got Rorax playing Aelia, a Centaur Cleric, who is not able to join us at this time. Next to her, we have Nerevar.
That's me.
That is
I'm
you.
playing as Tobias Salazar, who is a Spacial sorcerer, and he's very bright Eidolon, dragon Eidolon, Arokh Ironscale.
I like the accent you put on it because it actually made it sound slightly like you said a special summoner instead of spatial summoner, and I think that actually is much more appropriate.
True.
No, he is. All right, and then next to Nerevar, which by the way, Nerevar also is a streamer, and you can check him out on NerevarDZN on Twitch. So next to him we have Kellisto, who also will not be able to join us this evening, or morning, or whatever it is, wherever you are. Next to her, though, we've got Lyssa.
I am Valia Bonesmasher. I am a Lizardfolk Barbarian who does like to eat things from time to time. I don't think she's eaten anything here lately. And I have Flippy, who is my little companion, who has 3 kills now. So do it.
Has he got like a little tattoo?
On the side of his beak, he's just like.
I can see it now. You're gonna like paint some war paint across one eye or something now.
Give him a scar.
Also, he's a backup lunch in case she really gets desperate. Next, hey, lizard folk aren't particularly picky. You know, if
Be careful what you suggest.
if it's dead, it's dead, right? No. And then there's myself. I'm Vallen. I'm playing as Ulfgar Holderheck, a dwarven bard, who's also an Emerald Enclave emissary. And we're all here trying to solve the riddle of the people who have once died, re-dying again.
Redying?
The redying. After they were brought back to life, any of those people are now afflicted with some kind of death plague, which is slowly killing them. And we're trying to find the source of that. But in the process of doing so, we are constantly finding trouble in the land of Chult. And last time, we were at the town of Kashcah, friendly folk, which is a rare thing on this place, of a bunch of bird people. Basically, they're like kind of...
Arokh.
Yeah, Arokh, they're bird peoples. And think Hawkman. But one of them, the leader of the Arokh, sacrificed her wings in a ritual to grant us limited flight. And once that limit is reached, her wings will thankfully regrow, assuming we actually reach that limit. So, that placed a lot of trust in us from her. Anyway, we all stepped off the ledge and started flying off into the sunset, as it was actually getting close to sunset. It wasn't sunset per se, but we were hoping, I believe, to at least get to the river and camp and then continue on towards the strange rock from there, because we were here at Kashcah, and we're on our way to down this way over by the strange rock. Sorry, I didn't want to pick up and move the flight plan.
Have you booked this flight plan with air traffic control as well?
There might be a layover here or there.
Is it all the yellow marking?
N- no, that's alternate route. Those were our possibilities, and then once we did the logistics of it, it seemed like we'd be able to hit the Strange Rock, the shipwreck, and then try and head over to Hrakarm. I can't read that underneath the Hrakham. Oh, Hrackhammer. We'd be able to potentially find some allies at Hrackhammer, resupply, re-equip, maybe even gain some intel before we head over to Raznasi through the Valley of Lost Honor. Yeah, so that was what we ended up opting for, and we weren't sure if we'd be able to make it as far as Hrackhammer, and we're still not sure. We think we might be able to make it to the edge of the mountains if we're unlucky with our flight, but that would still get us very close, and we should be able to skirt the edge and see if we can find the entrance there. And Ataz Yaklawazi, I believe, was considered another deserted, desolate place. So it's not a... It might be something of interest, but not necessarily populated by any friendly people. It might be populated by unfriendly people, if anything, was the assumption. So...
Being that close, that far south, it might be undead, unfriendly.
Yeah. All right, so... Take it away, Kashcah. I will shut my yap now.
Okay, so you take off from Kirsabal, as you said, waving goodbye to your Arokh friends.
I can't wave goodbye anymore.
As they recede into the kind of the top of the monastery, top of the cliff recedes into the jungle line behind you, and you're trying to make as much progress as you can kind of throughout the day today, before it gets too dark. Let's see. Let's see how far you can get. So you can probably get like to probably just the other side of the river. So probably like, helps if I actually have the select tool selected. But probably like just over here. Wow, that was a big ping. Before it gets too dark.
Okay.
So you doing the usual kind of setup for the night?
Yes, but I would like to, I don't know, as we're flying, kind of try things out. I mean, you said before we could like Superman if we want, or whatever. We don't have to like flap our hands or anything. But do I have like perfect maneuverability? I can just like go, like, you know, or do I have to be like a bird and kind of like round it?
Yeah, it's more like I mean, you can't make sharp turns. It does require kind of a bit more maneuvering, and it's actually pretty disorienting when you, as you're just kind of getting used to this movement, right? I think Tobias might be a little more kind of on his feet with being in the air, if that makes sense. But other folks who have not been kind of flying much before, it's pretty disorienting, and it gets a little dizzying as well. Kind of if you look down too long, it's like, oh boy, okay, I have to kind of keep looking at the horizon a little bit more. And if you do try any fancy moves, then let me know, and we'll see how that goes.
I would say that during the first hour or so, Ulfgar, being of ground folk, heavily grounded folk, he would probably be very uneasy. I mean, extremely excited about this whole idea. Very saddened at the sacrifice that was made so that it could come to fruition. But he'd kind of on occasion be like doing like almost a dog paddle, you know, when you hold a dog over water when you're lowering it down into a pool or something, the dog starts to like do a little kick or something. He kind of might be doing that on occasion when he doesn't think of it. And I am 100% confident at least once during this brief trip he would have cast Featherfall on himself in the croup, thinking that he was falling at one point when he was, you know, not. So I marked off a spell slot, but I'm sure that at least that kind of stuff would have happened with him, just because he's awkward about it. Not that he doesn't like it, but he's very awkward about it right now.
Okay.
And that would be it. So
Okay. All right. So
Set
yeah,
up
if you're
the
not,
dome.
it feels almost like it feels like it's quite easy to like lose your balance, which makes no sense because you're kind of, you know, magically aloft. But it does feel like you're gonna like almost trip over, like or just like spin out of control, kind of if you mess around too much.
Right. Which is why I'm sure he probably cast Featherfall at least once during this beginning.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so then the night does, you know, the sun starts to set on the horizon. You can see the river line below you. What's your plan here?
Not really as hungry as I originally thought I might be. So probably skipping dinner and going for a big breakfast. But otherwise, just setting up the hut so that we can all rest once you know, Kellisto and Aelia perhaps have done a little hunting for anybody that else that might want some food. Just to because we do have some stores that we were given from the Arokhrans.
Yeah,
But
they gave you food to go.
Yep. Only if anything, probably eat double the meal size in the morning of anything that might spoil quicker.
And just rummage through the bag of holding and just pull out some dried fish that I've had for I don't know how long now. Luckily it's dried. And then just like offer some to people, and Flippy, I'll give them some as usual.
Fish jerky. Mm.
I like trying to get him. I'm like, let me, trying to get him to shake his claw.
Yeah, he seems to be kind of slowly getting the hang of that, you know.
He's falling over.
Yeah. Okay. So, Callisto could do a quick survival check to see if she can add to your dinner. Survival from Callisto. So, she's able to hunt down some iguana for you.
Ooh, iguana.
Iguana.
Oh, there it is.
So what's next? What you doing?
Eat and sleep and take off for the strange rock.
Okay. So you're gonna set up your hut or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
I take the 10 minutes to do it proper.
Okay.
That means Rorax has to sleep outside all by himself now, since we don't have porn.
He's used to it.
Arokh has a kind of a lonely look in his eye. He wistfully looks over to where Vaughn would be.
His artist and dragon breath with us. I keep wanting to call him Dragon Bait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Dragonbait is he's kind of very cautious about the flying experience. Just kind of taking his time getting used to it and everything. Artis is like his usual overconfident self, and you see him at one point and he's like flying on his back, and he's got his hands behind his head, and he's just kind of floating, floating along. And he's like, he looks over at Kellisto and gives her a wink, and as soon as he does that, he's like loses his balance and his like arms and legs everywhere. And he, okay, all right, forward. So he's pulling his usual stunts. But yeah, they would take refuge inside the hut if there is space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it should fit, I believe, up to 8.
All right. So everybody is inside the hut for the night. Everybody goes to sleep. And well, I'm assuming you all go to sleep. And the night does actually pass without incident. Let me know if you're going to do something different. But the morning kind of breaks. Sun begins rising. Callisto does a little more hunting to see if she can bring you some more breakfast. And oh yeah, she brings you fantastic breakfast goods. And then ready to leave for the day.
Okay. First and second breakfast, and on the way.
Okay. So from there, you're able to reach, or you think you'll be able to reach the weird stone in the sky, kind of within like just after lunch, you think. So you're kind of leaving a little earlier in the morning, getting there at like 2, maybe 3 o'clock.
Okay.
So you can kind of at that point probably will have used up a day's worth of flight between the stuff you did last night and the stuff you do kind of morning and early afternoon. I'll probably use up, you think, about a day's worth of flight.
Okay.
So let me kind of describe what you're seeing as you're flying over the jungle. And I am actually going to kind of start removing.
If you want to remove the A and B yellow marked flight plan, you can. I'll remove the green once we've covered more of it.
Oh yeah, remove A and B.
Yeah.
Okay. I will do that. Oh. No. Control Z. Alright,
Secrets.
How much flight did we have total?
3 days.
3 days.
Which we estimated to be around 300 miles, which is like Strange Rock would be like the first distance. The shipwreck would be close to the second, and then Rackhammer should be about the third.
I'll remove this one. Okay. So as you're traveling, the jungle canopy actually looks pretty normal. From what you saw when you were in Mbala and at the Oracle, I mean, it looks kind of, familiar almost. Just there's, if you imagine like the jungle in Minecraft, right? That's kind of like what you're seeing. Is like there's the occasional extra large tree, but otherwise it's kind of dense foliage of trees of varying sizes throughout the jungle. You do see kind of you've got an interesting perspective from up here. Some wildlife that you hadn't seen before. You see some different kind of birds. Some of them are much more kind of higher elevation birds who seem to be kind of traveling more from A to B. And then closer down to the treetops, you see, kind of bigger variety of like parrots and small, bird life as well. So this is something that you haven't really, you've been used to kind of the monkeys and small amphibians and all this kind of activity down on the forest floor or the jungle floor, but you're seeing kind of a different perspective of it. And you can also see, like, as you first take off in the morning, you can see the haze of the kind of moisture rising from the jungle as well. So there's this kind of mist that just lifts off the top of the jungle as the sun rises and then evaporates away. And pretty soon after, let's actually have a look, see what the weather's like. It does kind of have like a light rain that begins like a couple of hours into your travel, but nothing too serious.
Oh, I didn't even think about the weather. If we get another one of those typhoon things, we'll have to ground ourselves.
This is going to be fun. So, in the distance, as you get closer to the rock, you can see this, you can begin to see a bit of detail from it. So it really does look like a massive, big blob of rock with some earth on it. And you think what looks like a tree stump as well. So from a distance, that's kind of what you can make out. And as you get closer and closer, you can definitely see more and more detail. And you begin to see that it is, in fact, a big kind of, it's tapered at the bottom and kind of comes to a flat top. And it is a big chunk of rock. And it has, it's elevated above the ground. It's lifted and drifting over kind of a swampier section of forest.
So it's floating.
It's floating. Not only is it floating, but it's also, as you get closer, it looks like it's doing a very slow rotation as well.
Something that it's rotating around?
No, like it's spinning on its own axis.
Oh, okay.
It's not orbiting. It's just rotating.
Okay. Let's go to the nearest edge and see if we can land. See if there's something causing this place to float or fly. Maybe we can use it to enhance our own flight further.
Okay. So,
Latest point after you.
Super Dwarf.
Oh boy. Alright, hang on. Let me drag you over to the map. You're gonna have to stop a couple of places because the map is like, let's move you over to this with the fantastic drawings. My favorite thing ever.
Here be monsters.
Alright, there we go. Heart.
Oh wow.
Okay. Alright, so this is this is what you see. So you see there is like as you're getting closer, you can see like a couple of tree stumps actually. One of them is much more significant. And as you get right in close to it, and you're kind of thinking about going in for a landing, I'm going to describe it in further detail. So here's the description.
Okay.
A massive chunk of earth and rock torn from the earth drifts over the swampy forest about 100 feet above the ground. A petrified tree towers above the stone, with its stone root protruding from the bottom. Between the shape of the rock and the branching of the tree's limbs, it creates the impression of a gigantic stone heart hanging in the sky. The impression is only made more gruesome by the red liquid dripping from the root. You can see a cave mouth in the side of the slowly rotating heart, and this staircase winding from the cave up to the flattened top where the petrified tree stands. The staircase definitely isn't natural. It was carved with tools for sure. So there you go. That is what you see.
You said that there's red liquid dripping off the roots?
Yep, so like these rooty bits.
Mm-hmm.
Here and here. there is red liquid dripping
Mm,
from these.
hooray. Yeah. I was just thinking about doing that. So I was thinking maybe take a quick look at that before landing. I'm curious what this is. Maybe give it a sniff.
You're looking at the red. You want to look at the red liquid? Is that why you're?
Yeah. I want to know why. Is it sap or is it blood or...
Okay. So you're kind of gonna try and go up and hover. Is that your?
If possible, yes. I assume I would have found out if I could hover or not when I tried landing, which might have been a sight to behold nonetheless.
Yeah. So you're kind of fly up to it and try and hover. You can actually kind of put your hand against the rock itself to kind of steady yourself. So how are you checking this out? Are you like catching drips of it, or?
No, I'd like to make a smell check and look closely.
So what are you sniffing?
See if I mean, I imagine I might be able to smell if it's something familiar to me, like blood, or perhaps tree sap, or something of that sort. You know.
Okay. Let me. So can you describe what you're doing? I guess.
I'm sniffing the red liquid pouring off the roots, and I'm looking closely at the red liquid pouring off the roots.
So you make a perception check.
Okay.
Let's do that so I can have an idea of how much to share with you.
Sniff check, go.
Check, go.
That was great. Oh, the one came second.
It
Okay.
smells like the blood of your ancestors. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
It smells very iron-like. Like there's a definite kind of iron smell to it.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just gonna go in and try to land on the top.
That's all I'd do. I'd go back up to the top after that.
Good night.
Okay. So then I'm going to. Oh, hang on, because I did grab your tokens there. First, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and then I'm going to drag you guys over because I do have a map of the top. So, let me put my key down. And sorry, Valia, I'm just going to drag. Is Flippy coming with you as well?
Yes. How is he flying, by the way? How are we flying, by the way? So I kind of missed that last week.
You have to constantly keep waving one arm.
So Flippy is like flapping his little wings about, like he's actually using them to fly, but he's really not. That you know that from the ritual that it's a magical flight, so it doesn't really like.
You really don't have to look like a silly chick.
Right, but he's he's. I don't know that he realizes that, so
He'd be super excited and squawking because he could fly.
Flapping away to his heart's content.
So did you purposefully whisk off half the tokens?
I did because because they are going for the top while you're sniffing.
Okay.
Stuff.
Yeah, I was going over there once I'm done sniffing.
Yeah. They're just gonna get a head start because you stop for a sniff.
Yep. Smell check.
Exactly. All right. So this is what you see when you land at the top here. So there is this kind of great tree trunk in the middle. And yeah, kind of just a rough. There is earth or dirt on the top of it, so you can kind of see. There's some small kind of moss and vegetation. Very sparse vegetation growing. Very rough, kind of short grass. It is a little bit windy up here. You're kind of in an exposed area, so the wind is a little stronger than usual.
Okay. Tobias would like to check if there are any signs of inhabitants. If somebody lives here,
Okay.
if there are any footsteps or any some sort of destruction of the vegetation.
Gotcha. Make a survival check then to see if you can find any track.
Survival check.
Okay. You don't see anything. Well, I mean, there's some kind of what looks like it's where people have walked that like frequently. Like there's some areas of grass that's a little more worn, areas of moss where it's the moss is just kind of not growing as quite as thickly, and it's like that's a place where people have walked frequently, but there aren't. What you don't find are any like fresh footprints, if that makes sense. Hopefully.
Okay, so I'll be making my way towards the staircase with Arokh.
Okay.
I'll follow behind.
Okay. So while there, Ulfgar, let me take you over there now. Are you done with your sniff check?
Sniff check.
Okay.
Let's do a zoom. That might be a little too zoomed.
A little too close.
Oh, Robin Williams.
Hmm.
All right, there we go. Okie dokie. And I do my usual amazing dwarven landing where I just kind of curl into a ball and kind of tumble onto the ground as gently as I can. Meanwhile, I'm sure I see like Aelia just kind of like galloping down onto the ground, and I'm all like,
Let me grab that token. Thank you for the reminder. So the stairway that you guys see is a stone stairway, and it is as mentioned, been carved kind of by tools, right? This handmade or man-made stairway, and it descends down to kind of a little like platformy area down here. With a cave entrance right there.
Okay, so either way, we are making our way down, but Arokh is going to fly to the very bottom, just to check ahead of me.
Okay. So Arokh will see the cave opens up right into kind of into the heart of this heart-shaped rock. But what I'm saying is that this area of the rock actually, that Arokh sees is almost hollow inside, because there is this kind of larger. It opens out into this larger space, and he sees an elf, female elf, standing in the kind of just beyond the doorway of the cave. And she is a little bit startled, and she's like taken aback by Arokh suddenly like appearing in the mouth of this cave, right?
Is she saying something, or she just go completely silent?
She hasn't said anything yet, but she does. her stance is almost like she was expecting to see somebody, but Arokh is not quite like who she expected.
Arokh is rarely what people expect to see.
It's like she was aware that somebody had arrived, but
was it the loud thud of the dwarf on the roof?
Okay, so Tobias is going to make his way down.
Okay. All right. Let me take you guys down to the lower level. Hang on. I need to zoom out a little in order to be able to do that. Okay. So everybody that's traveling down there. Let me move you down there. Okay. So that, so yes, you see the elven woman standing in the mouth of the cave. And Ulfgar, what are you up to while they're traveling down there?
Realizing that the tree looked petrified and potentially hollow, he'd like to take a superhero jump with his flight up to the lip of the edge and grab on and gently peek over and see what he sees down in the throat of the main tree.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So as you peer down, make a perception check. Let's see how much you see.
What do my dwarf eyes see?
Exactly. So you see, first thing you see actually is on the inside ledge of this. It is hollow, actually. Mm-hmm. And on the inside ledges of this petrified tree are bats clinging to the side of the kind of the sides, right? Just all around, kind of quite a lot of bats. They're all kind of clinging there. And then you see, as you look further down, you can see below is a pool of water. Yeah, clearly, it's open to the elements directly below. But the pool does seem to be in kind of a larger cave area.
Can I move Ulfgar over the tree stump on the map?
You can. It's probably not going to show you the...
Okay.
It's just a grey area. But yeah, you could definitely move him.
There we go.
Yeah.
That works.
Yep. So you see a lot of bats on the inside of the tree trunk and the pool of water below in the larger cave.
Make him fall down.
So it looks like it goes down into an open area below.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. Ulfgar calls down to the rest of the NPCs and says, I'm going to drop in this way and have a look down this way. If you want to catch up with the others, you can go down the stairs. Otherwise, follow me.
Aelia says, I think I'll take the stairs, thank you, Ulfgar. And Kellisto, she and Kellisto are going to go that way.
Okay.
So they head off down the stairs. And Dragonbait and Artis are going to go with them as well. So you're saying you're standing like on top of the tree stump, calling that down to them?
Actually, I would be on the outside of it because I was just peeking my head over it to look down in, and then I was gonna lean back and just I'm like hanging on to the edge, and then shout down to them.
Okay. Just so you're not climbing down before you do that, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. There is, as you shout down to your cohorts, the bats inside are clearly agitated by your shouts.
Yup. He's a shouty kind of guy.
So you can hear like all the chittering kind of noises coming from inside the tree, and it sounds like a lot of flapping going on in there.
He just kind of wait for them to clear out before he goes down.
Okay. All right. So let's go back to the folks at the bottom then. So you see Valia and Tobias. You see exactly what Arokh saw. There is inside. Female elf. She actually, let me share her picture with you. Come on, open up. She is a very classic kind of looking elf. She has blonde hair, although it looks like it could use a wash. And she looks actually like she's a bit lacking in the sleep department. She needs a nap. Or 6. So that.
Vilandra Shadow Mantle. I see.
So, but she is exactly as you see her here. She's got kind of dark robes on, she does kind of when she sees kind of humanoids approach, especially like human. Tobias, you're very familiar. Lizardfolk a little less so, but she does a little bow with her head, and she says, "Welcome, guests," in kind of a surprised tone.
Yes, I'm quickly bowing back. Greatest venerations. We are the travelers that we came up this place. Who are you? And please don't be assaulted by my scaly friend behind me. The question, which one?
I just look at her, I'm like...
She says, my name is Vilandra Shadowmantle. She says, welcome to my home. She says, perhaps you could introduce yourself as well.
I am Tobias Salazar. That's my friend Arokh Ironscale, and we are the ones from the Order of the Flame. Next to me is Valia and a couple of other old friends, which I'm taking her name, are up above, and we are traveling here through Chult.
Mm-hmm. And at that moment, you guys hear as well, from kind of the center. Well, let me just read you a quick description of this room as well. So the cave that you see kind of inside here is musty and dimly lit by the daylight filtering down. You can kind of see behind Vilandra. There's this pool of daylight that's coming down from the tree trunk. You know, it's a very spatial awareness. You know that directly above there is where the tree trunk would be that you saw. The cave itself is about 20 feet tall, so it's pretty significant height. And the pool of dirty rainwater occupies that kind of area in the center. There are kind of these natural pillars that have formed in the cave by the roots of the petrified tree. So that's kind of what you see for now. And you hear from the center opening, where you can see the daylight, a great kind of chittering and flapping of wings. And she says, I see your friends have disturbed my neighbors. She says, perhaps perhaps they could be so kind as to leave them to their own devices. She says, they are nocturnal creatures after all.
I'm giving a quick look to our Arokh and just mutually remind him that he could go and fetch Ulfgar and rest.
Okay. So is Arokh kind of flying away to?
Yeah, Arokh is kind of flying away to Ulfgar to disturb whatever he's doing.
All right. So Vilandra says to you though, please come in. She says, my home is very meager, but you are welcome to take shelter here, and perhaps we can share some news.
Very well then.
So she kind of steps back from the mouth of the cave, and
I assume that the cave opening is a little bit too small to Arokh to fit in.
He could, he'd have to kind of squeeze and shuffle in, but he could just about fit in. But as he's off to get Ulfgar at the moment.
Okay.
So you see, upon entering the cave, you see that off to the right here, there are 3 tall bookcases standing against the wall of the cave. And then over to the left here, there is a desk with kind of a crude bench and several small wooden crates. And then let me see if you can actually see other things. Yes, you can. Okay. So you also see in the far wall over here, there is a large iron cage. And
Is it empty?
it is empty, yes. Yep, so that's kind of what you see. And Vilandra says, here, take rest, and she kind of motions towards the crates and kind of steps over in that direction. So this is apparently what she has for you to sit on, is some wooden crates. So.
Okay. What is her name? Vallen, could you tell us more about this place and more about yourself?
She says, "Oh, of course. But let's go to Ulfgar for just a moment. So Ulfgar, you see, Arokh kind of arrives, and
Just as I'm about to go in.
yeah, and when you look, if you peer back over the edge of this tree stump, below you is basically like a whirlwind of bats, like just flying around in this. Like they don't want to go outside or they don't seem to. It's a little, they'd much rather be sleeping. But they are definitely disturbed. So so they're just flying around, and you can also hear this from below, Valia and Tobias. So just this flapping and screeching and chittering of bats inside this tree trunk. So Arokh approaches you, Ulfgar, and I'm not sure what Arokh's going to say, so I'll leave that to you now.
Could you be so kind and take the stairs?
All right. I thought we were just here to
The
explore.
rest are waiting for you.
Okay, then. So Ulfgar will actually... here, let me use the... Is this the right thing? Yeah. He wants to kind of like fly off the edge then. And kind of do a little bit here. Sorry for the weirdness. And then work down to the stairs. Reason being, he just wants to look over the edge and see if this was like a cork pulled from the ground real briefly. If this entire floating island was like ripped up from the ground, or if it's just floating here and he doesn't see it as that on his way down to the stairs.
Okay, sure.
And
yeah,
to also look down the shaft of the other tree, just to see if it's hollow as well, just from high above it, so he's not disturbing anything this time.
okay. So first thing, you look down the shaft of the other tree, and it is a little hollow, but just kind of
Oops.
comes to a stop. Like it's not, it doesn't go all the way kind of through as the other one did.
Okay.
This one is just filled with like, just any kind of stuff that would fall into like. First of all, it's filled with decaying wood. From what would have been the tree. But then any other kind of detritus that you can imagine, so bits of leaves and, junk that birds have dropped and, all kinds of stuff is just piled in this tree stump and rotting away. So,
Okay.
so it's hollow, but only for a short distance down.
Okay.
Okay. As you begin your kind of, scope kind of around or swoop around the edge of the island, you can see kind of below is there, and there does seem to be kind of a bit of a dip where perhaps this once was, but you think that if this was kind of torn from the ground below, it was done so centuries ago. It's you can just make out the vaguest kind of indentation in the vegetation below where perhaps this could have, been as a result of this.
Okay.
Okay. All right, and you kind of catch up with the other on the stairs down, and they're kind of making their way down towards the cave entrance there. So not that way. Okay.
Whoops.
Oh. Let's put Dragonbait there. Okay, so they're gonna. So Dragonbait and Artis are gonna kind of hang out outside while this conversation's going on. Okay. So let me take you, Ulfgar, down to the next layer. That way a little bit. And then we'll put you in there. Okay. There you go.
Cool.
So Vilandra turns to you, Tobias, and says, the history of this says, who knows when it became airborne, says centuries ago. She says, but it is perhaps what you might consider an earth moat. She says, it's held aloft by magic, of course, but it's not any kind of magic that is done by man or elf or dwarf. She says this is a natural magic that is holding this this chunk of earth aloft. She says, as far as I can tell, she says, as you can see, it's rotating slowly counterclockwise. She says, I have measured it during my time here, and it completes a revolution about every hour. She says, the Chultans call this the heart of Ubtao. She says, well, as you can see, it has strong resemblance in its shape to a physical heart. She says, but they believe something further. They believe this is actually the petrified heart of their old god Ubtao. She says, I don't think anybody worships Ubtao anymore. She says, but you do find those who still believe that this is a mystical or spiritual place. She says, once upon a time, she said, the priests would have come here to as kind of a pilgrimage, she says, but those days are long since gone now that nobody worships Ubtao anymore.
there there was somebody who was living here before you?
She says, it's difficult to say. She says, I think it was more of a place of pilgrimage before I lived here. I don't think it's been occupied permanently for any period of time.
And what is your purpose of your stay here? What are you doing here?
She says, well, I am a student. She says, I am studying activities within the jungle. She says, this is a very good place for me to stay. She says, I'm safe from the dangers below and have easy access to any point that I care to study.
Good to hear. For the first, I was thinking you are some sort of prisoner bound by some sort of weird magic to this rock.
Says, oh no, this is where I choose to be. She says, and what about yourselves? First, you seem to have reached my home with incredible ease compared to most. She says, but how do you come to have flight, and what brings you into this jungle that is Chult?
Oh, hello there.
She says,
Always late.
Your friend says,
Yes, please meet Ulfgar.
He's probably the one disturbing your neighbors, by the way, because that's just how he is.
He does a bow and says, "Greetings, I am Ulfgar Holderheck. I am representative of the Emerald Enclave, and these are my companions."
She does a little nod of her head and she says, "Greetings to you, Ulfgar. I am Vilandra Shadow."
Okay. Actually, I think he wouldn't say these are my companions. He'd say, "I see you've met my companions." That's what he would have said. I have to admit, we weren't expecting this structure to be inhabited. Forgive me for overhearing your story as we approached.
She says, well, now you know exactly why I chose it.
I do fear that you're not entirely safe. Have you heard of the Terrafolk?
She says, yes, I have heard of them. She says, but I am able to take care of myself enough to avoid their danger.
Does she look like malnourished or something? You said that she looked like she needed like 6 naps or something.
Yeah, she looks and she looks like classic elf, right? She just looks like her hair isn't particularly well washed, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks like she is tired.
I'd like to... Now, I don't know how best to say this, but basically I'd like to just take in what I see of the room, what she's told me, and see if it all seems to match up together. So basically figure out if what she's saying is true, and perhaps use the surroundings as, I don't know, a starting point to try and make that assumption.
So you see kind of what I've described to the others, right? You see the bookshelves, you see there's a desk with a bench, and there seems to be like a whole lot of like she has books over there and writings, and this seems to be like an area where she studies, you know.
I guess I'd basically like to make an insight check is what I'd like to do.
I get what you're saying.
Okay.
I'm just not sure what your motivation would be for not believing her, I guess.
We've met people before, and they've had ulterior motives, like a certain camp that was perfectly fine until we met them, and then they wanted to force it conscript us.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, go ahead and roll an insight.
Okay.
She seems to be presenting herself as exactly,
Okay.
that she doesn't seem to be hiding anything. Yeah.
That was it. I just wanted to get my first impression of her.
She says, so what brings you to Chult? Perhaps I missed that part.
I think Nerevar did explain that we were here to conquer the death plague.
No, not yet. I was on the way doing it.
Gotcha.
Like dirty, filthy undead. That's what brings us here.
Perhaps Ulfgar will explain it a bit better.
No, you've already been doing a good job without me. Go right ahead.
It's undead. I'm just dirty, nasty undead. Want to eat everything. They're gross. And there's a death curse. If she didn't notice, like dead people, they're dying. The undead, yeah.
When you say death curse, she kind of raises an eyebrow.
I see you've perhaps heard of it, or know someone afflicted by it.
She says, I am aware of this curse. She says, and it's currently an phenomenon that I am studying.
Good. Maybe you can give us some information or any kind of useful knowledge that you have. Maybe we can all share some.
Where do you come from, Valindra? Valindra. I like this name, Valindra.
I just look at Tobias and I'm like, he's going crazy. Too much air.
What do you mean by studying it?
She says, well, I'm trying to learn as much as I can about the causes and what can be done with the curse, and then what we can do to keep it under control. She says. She says, how much do you know about it?
We have unconfirmed suspicions.
Yeah, pretty much that affects anyone who was resurrected before. We have rumors that necromancer named Rasnasi might be responsible for this.
She says, and she kind of looks a little quizzical and says, interesting.
Does she seem to be giving this... Sorry.
Go on.
Does she seem to be giving the same signs of illness that our employer did?
Yeah, I was...
No, she just looks kind of like she's been spending a lot of time reading and writing.
Okay.
like she just looks kind of tired.
I meant to ask about that. Okay, going back on track. Maybe you will be able to tell us a little bit more about the curse, or we can exchange some information.
She says, have you heard of the Soulmonger? And she says it kind of with her head bowed, and as she says it, her eyes kind of flick up to you all to see if there's any hint of recognition in your face.
Ulfgar
wouldn't. Actually,
Ulfgar wouldn't hide the recognition. He'd say yes.
Yes, we did, but that was our first information about this, and it's more or less unconfirmed.
She says, I believe this artifact to be the cause of the curse.
Do you know anything more about Soulmonger?
She says, I fear your journey takes you to a very dangerous place. She says, it's my
Telling
belief
us
that
stuff we already know.
it's my belief that the Soulmonger is hidden somewhere in the ruins of Omu.
And that's where we're heading.
She says, indeed, it is a dangerous place. She says, but it is such a unique magic.
Yeah, well, it's not very good, obviously, because it's fallen into the wrong hands, and now people are suffering, and we need to get there
She
and
says,
get it dealt with.
But yes, but even if we know about Soulmonger and we know what this artifact is capable of, we actually have no idea what exactly we are looking for.
She says, so I think you'll know it when you see it. She says, but how do you plan to deal with it?
Well,
That's funny that you ask. Ulfgar, we're just gonna use him, where he's gonna grab it, and we're gonna figure out some way to travel with it.
Ulfgar's just got kind of his hands on his hips with like a naughty, like type look at her, and he says, well, our employer has assured us that provided that we can return it to her, she has the means to destroy it. And she's friends of one of the princes of, I can't remember the city name without looking at the map. And I'm
Portney
sorry.
and Zara.
Thank you, Portney and Zara.
She says, oh, those princes. She says, they're pretty useless.
They are a bit fickle at times. From what area do you hail?
She says, I have been many places. She says, the life of an elf is not a short, life to live. She says, it really is not important.
Well, I just find it strange to find a scientist of sorts that's here studying the same thing that we're looking for. What motivates you?
She says, scientist. She says, I am more interested in arcane workings than I am in natural ones.
Forgive me, a student, someone who's just in study of the curse as it is. I didn't mean any offense.
Oh, she says, none taken, but she says, I am here because this is a valuable magic that I want to learn from. She says, so you can imagine my dismay to hear that your plan is to destroy it. She says, surely there is greater value in imprisoning it and studying from it.
I just give Tobias and Ulfgar the side eye, like,
Well, I personally don't see any good that can come from such a weapon.
Well, I wouldn't really call it a weapon. She says, if we can contain the damage that it's doing, she says, there could be great mysteries to be unlocked within this.
Actually, I agree with Valendra. It's better to keep the gin inside the bottle than breaking it. We don't know what we might unleash when we're going to destroy the Soulmonger.
She says, a man after my own heart. She says, it's good to meet a like-minded person. It's important to learn whatever we can from these artifacts, and destroying it should only be a last resort.
well, I mean, I'm not completely closed-minded about, giving it back and destroying it, or, doing what you guys want to do, but we really honestly don't know until we get there and we actually see it in person, and we actually, get the feeling of it, get a feel for it or whatever, and then we can decide. But I mean, at least we have options. And I don't think any of us in our party, no offense to Tobias, I don't think any of us are going to be able to contain it properly if we want to actually do what you guys are suggesting.
And that's why we are gathering information about it.
She says, there are many powerful arcane users in the world. She says they could certainly contain it. She says, in fact, I'm certain that some of my scholarly associates would be capable of doing such a thing. She says, I think we should work together to make sure that we learn everything we can from the Soul manga, instead of just word she's looking for, instead of just carelessly destroying it. She says, who knows what would happen when you destroy such a thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's the dilemma. If you destroy it, you could possibly unleash something far worse than what's going on now. You contain it, you lose it. Not that you would on purpose, but if it happens to fall into the wrong hands, it could be twice as bad as it is now. I don't know.
It's a win-win.
It's something that we all need to think about, and we've got nothing but time to think about at this point. While we're on our way.
So the next time she's about to talk, Ulfgar kind of interjects and says, "So what's with the big cage you've got over there?"
She says, this is a tool that I use for my studies. It's necessary sometimes to contain more dangerous beasts of the jungle.
Aelia didn't come down here, did she?
No, she's kind of she and Kellisto, like the four of them, are kind of standing in the doorway of the cave.
They're doing NPC stuff.
Yeah, well, I just figured she probably saw the cage and was like, what the hell? Like, she completely, I would assume she does not trust this woman one bit, especially after what she just said. Can I kind of walk around and, inspect the cage?
So how long have you been here?
She says, well, she kind of waves off. Says these pleasantry questions are really quite uninteresting. She says. I'm more interested in perhaps coming to an agreement regarding our collaboration.
And I look in the cage while he's yakking away.
Ulfgar would say, "All right then, back to the curse. Before we continue with negotiating the outcome, perhaps we find more about each other's knowledge base of it. Like, how did you come to know of it?"
She says, one of my associates shared the news with me about the death curse. She says, and I decided to travel to Chol, and have since taken up residence inside the heart, as you see here, to study. And she's kind of looking over, she kind of positions herself like a little more. She's keeping an eye on Valia. She's kind of where is she wandering off to? She's just kind of constantly doing this kind of.
She's smarter than Ulfgar then.
Okay, Valendra, tell us, who is this associate of yours?
She says, it's nobody from your your organizations from either the Emerald Enclave or any other. She says he is a wizard that actually kind of mentored me. And she doesn't offer up his name.
Okay, so you are not employed by Syndra.
She says, I'm afraid I don't know that name.
She's a friend
what was
of
the name?
she's a friend of Wakanga, and she seems to be suffering from the curse.
So Valia, looking in the cage, it's an iron cage with kind of a door at one end of it that has a very sturdy latch that can't be opened from the inside, obviously. And it does look like there's kind of Detroit, like dirt and junk inside the cage, like beasts have been, kind of held there, but
You find
not
a baby Axbeak skull on the floor.
no, flippy. And there's no like particular bones or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting more suspicious because she's getting more pushy, so I'm just kind of looking around. Kind of look in the pool of water. I doubt anything's interesting in it, but...
The pool of water is not particularly deep. It's maybe a foot deep at the center, you think? It's very shallow. It's just collected rainwater. It's nothing remarkable.
Rainwater and bat poop. Great.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm just gonna walk around the other side. Anything interesting on the deck?
I'm
not gonna touch the stuff. I'm just kind of glancing to see if there's anything interesting sitting on.
There's a desk with books and writing implements. Do you speak Elvish? Or?
I don't think I do. Let me double. No, I speak Dwarvish.
Okay.
Sorry.
So it's not in a language that that you recognize, but there do seem to be books. And at this point, Vilandra says, "You seem to be looking for something. Can I help you?"
She's always
not
looking for something.
I'm just looking around. Like, no worries. I'm just gonna sit on the crate right here. Just kind of pull a piece of dry fish out, chew on it.
Okay.
Well, what kind of negotiation are you looking to enter?
She says, well, simply once the soulmonger is obtained, we work together to secure it.
And I can't say that I could speak to the fact that anybody could secure it properly either.
Your friend seems to think that she can destroy it.
True.
So, I am surely if she can destroy it, then she could secure it as well. Says, but if you don't think she's capable, then this is where our collaboration would be key. She says, allow us to secure it instead. She says, you can, I'm not suggesting that you, give it over to us. She says, but simply, bring it to me, and together, all of us can work to secure it.
But together, perhaps we could be something more. Sorry, getting Aladdin flashbacks. Ulfgar just says, "What do you mean by us? I see only yourself here. Do you have other companions near?"
And she says, well, primarily, I was talking about you. She says, you know, the us being, you know, yourselves and me. She says,
Oh,
but
okay.
she says, I would like to involve my mentor as well.
And who's your mentor? Is he affiliated with any factions?
She says, no, he is not. She says, he is the wizard who taught me everything that I know before I became independent and began my own study. She says, his name is Sas Tam.
Sas Tam. Okay. I say, well, there is more of our group waiting outside that we would have to discuss with before we enter into anything. And I'd have to consider betraying the trust of the current employer that we have, who has contacted the Emerald Enclave to try and stop this curse from continuing.
She says, there's no reason to betray their trust. She says, let's all work together. She says, if you are able to retrieve the soulmonger, she says, then we should meet here, and your companion or employer could also join us to, work to secure it.
I don't think she will be capable to get to this place.
Yes, she used a considerable portion of her power to transport us as it was. She since has fallen more ill. We would have to go to Port Nyanzaru.
And she says, but once we go to Port Nyanzaru, we have to deal with the princess. She says, but no, it's no worries, no bother, because I am quite capable of creating a gate for your friend to use. So, she could travel through my gate to, to be here.
I just kind of elbow Ulfgar. I walk over and I'm like, you forget we kind of really can't go back into Port Nyanzaru, and I kind of look over at Art.
Not all of us, but if we were to bring Sindra here, that would still resolve issues.
I mean, we can bring her here. They can discuss it and figure out what they're gonna do with it. I mean, all we're tasked with is getting it. What happens to it after we complete that is whatever. As long as they pay us, we're done.
Mm-hmm. Well, the objective is ultimately to save lives here.
Well, we still have to get the piece that's killing people.
Aye. So, Vilandra, it is. I do love that name. It is. Gotta play it up. It is with. It is your belief that the Soulmonger is an object, and not an entity. Then.
She says, yeah, I do believe it is an artifact.
Might you have any clues or information as to where it might be? Is it sounding accurate that we might find it in possession, or in the possession of Nazrazi? I think that's his name.
She says, I believe that it is in the ruins of Omen. She says, I don't believe Raznasi has taken ownership of it yet.
Oh.
What do you mean yet?
Do you think he's trying to obtain it?
It does seem to be right up his alley.
Have you experienced or knowledge about Rasnesi?
She says, she says, I know a little about him. Hang on one second. I get this. She says, yes, I know a little of him.
Because it's our belief that he already had it, and is the reason why it started in the first place.
She says, she says, I don't think he is in possession of it. Says, I think he is, I think it's in his backyard. He lives in Omu, and the Soulmonger is hidden in Omu. So, perhaps in that way he has claimed ownership of it.
Mm. So how would you propose to work with us, then? We do have our own route that we are taking to get to what we believe to be Omu. Face Rasnesi, stop the undead threat, and cancel this re-dying curse by originally looking to destroy the Soulmonger.
She says, well, I'm not particularly combat ready, she says with like a kind of slight eye roll almost. And she kind of gestures to like her attire, and she is just wearing these robes. She's like, I suggest that we meet back up once you have obtained the Soulmonger. And at that point, I can help secure it.
Do you have any idea about its size, shape, look, design? Any of those that information would be highly valuable for us to be able to recover it.
She says, no, I don't, unfortunately.
Anything that we should be wary of about it that you might have studied?
She says, no, she says, I've more been working on its location and what stands between myself and it than the object itself. She says, I really think you'll find that that's probably not important.
So, I don't know about you. This is like not in character. I personally don't trust her whatsoever because of the fact that she looks extremely tired, lots of study. She's got cages in here. It doesn't seem to line up with trying to find this thing. But
I think she's got the yuck.
But I don't know that Ulfgar would feel this way as well. His intelligence is not that great, but his wisdom for recognizing a situation is good. So I'm not sure if he would really be trying to feel out if everything she's saying is like perfectly accurate, or if it seems to be like she's got more of an angle to it. I don't know if that's, how he would be feeling in this case in order to play it better, I guess. Because I'm trying to play it the way he would, but I'm not really sure.
Only you can decide.
Right. So I guess, I don't know, Ulfgar would, ask that he would speak with the rest of his, the rest of the group, and, we discuss and come back to her with more information. In the meantime, did she have any questions for us as well?
She says, I am still curious how you are able to fly.
We've been...
Ancient lizard secret.
We were blessed by the donation of a Gorgon.
She was dead, but she is no longer.
That's very cryptic.
Well, I feel that by telling too much, I reveal informations on peoples that don't wish to be involved. So please forgive my saying so, but that's we were blessed with a limited time flight, and it's been proven very useful.
Says, unless you're one of my bat.
I missed what you said.
She says, unless you're one of my bat.
Of which I am not.
She says, take all the time you need. She says, I will be remaining here until I have solved this mystery. So,
well, if I may ask, perhaps you are able to divine the location of it through your studies. What then?
She says, if I'm able to find the location of it through my studies, then I will be hiring some capable folks such as yourselves to retrieve it.
I see. Well,
I guess we should go up top and discuss this. Just start walking.
Well, if you don't mind, then we'll make camp on the upper area here and discuss amongst ourselves.
She says, of course. She says, please do let me know your decision before you leave.
Aye, that we will.
Okay. So you're kind of exiting, is that? So Tobias and Valia, do you have more questions for Vilandra, or are you following Ulfgar, or?
No, I was already heading out, going up.
Okay.
Yeah,
I tell Flippy, stay
it's
next
better
to
that
me.
we're going to discuss this.
I just tell Flippy, stay close. There's a cage in there.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Okay. So you make your way back up to the top, and
that's not stairs. Sorry. Let me zoom back out a bit, and then drag my character over. There we go. Hey, everybody.
Okay.
We'll hang out up here.
Okay. Yep.
So then, Ulfgar would sit down with the rest of the group and, kind of start pulling out a little bit of like food or something like that, and say, "Keep in mind what we say here may be monitored by our host."
For training and supervision.
Yes. But I will say, things don't seem to add up for me.
What do you mean?
I can't put my finger on it, but something seems amiss. I've missed something.
Yeah, her mentor is. I have a question for Kashcah. Do we have any knowledge about him? Did we heard about him before?
Yeah, it would be mentioned amongst the NPCs at this point, so I don't know if any of them would be able to mention any knowledge of Sastam as well.
Nope.
Okay.
Nobody seems to recognize that name.
Yeah,
I think it's weird, and she looks really tired. Like she's been here quite a while, researching. If that's what she's doing, maybe her mentor has this problem, and that's why she's doing this.
Yeah, probably we did not ask her about how this curse is involved in her life.
I don't think she would tell us. She almost didn't even want to tell us the name of her study. The guy she studied under, the wizard. So.
Yeah, I assume that he is probably someone more than just her mentor.
Yeah, it's possible.
Just saying. But we did not have another option how to deal with someone up until this time. So I will consider her offer, nonetheless, because we have to acknowledge the fact that Syndra might be long gone when we get the Soulmonger.
I mean, that's also true. I mean, she didn't look like she had much longer when we saw her. So, I mean, our job mainly is to get this artifact to try to save people, regardless of whether it's destroyed or kept, secured. What happens to it after it leaves our hands is, I know, to me, I'm not a magic user. I don't have any use for it. I can't do anything with it. It's for you, Tobias. Maybe you can learn something from it, or in the process, if you want to secure it, so maybe you can learn something, from it through that process. But
yeah, perhaps, but I'm more concerned about the fact that she's hesitating to take this journey with us.
Yeah, I hate to do it, but I don't. If we want to contain it, or if it does get contained, I don't honestly feel that she can be trusted. I have a feeling that things will go very badly once she gets.
Ulfgar would say with a hushed voice, he doesn't want to broadcast information and stuff, but he would say, I have to say, with my time in the Emerald Enclave, they've had dealings with magical artifacts that I am aware of. Not specific ones, but I know that they have dealt with them in the past. I know that they can be a tremendous influence over people, sometimes grasping hold of their mental states.
But if they are not secured properly...
Aye, and we're the group that's sent to procure it.
Yeah, I mean, the more I think about it, and the more, Tobias or even crazy lady downstairs talk, I have a feeling destroying this could possibly make it worse. What if destroying it unleashes either it can unleash all the power, and every undead will come back, and like this necromancer is doing now, or what if it kills all of the undead people, never to be brought back again? I mean, not that I'm for necromancy, because it's kind of weird, but some people want their loved ones back, or if you've got enough gold, can be brought back continuously. But I don't know. I have a feeling that I'm leaning more towards being secured in case, say, this happens again.
I do have a concern, though, that if it's secured, it'll just be used by another person. Perhaps in an infinitely more difficult manner, or dangerous manner. There are a lot of different ways that this could play out. I already was of the opinion that we wouldn't have the ability most likely to destroy said artifact, but that would stop the curse. Not that I have seen any evidence to it, though. But at this point, I think just locating the source of it is our current objective. And if she can offer us further assistance, it would be appreciated. But I hesitate to bring in unknown people that we haven't already... He looks over at Artis and Dragonbait. Vetted ourselves. I mean, we've had our share of unreliable companions, as he looks over at Valia and says, I'm sure you remember some who might have a certain fear of heights in the past.
I'm still gonna eat her if we find her in the wild, but that doesn't matter right now.
When you say vetted, by the way, Artis kind of elbows Dragonbait and goes, He's like, we passed the test, and he's giving Dragonbait the thumbs up.
But if she's able to get up here and create her own teleportation circle like she was talking of, that would imply she's of a good, strong magical influence, and if she has someone who's more knowledgeable than her, who she'd like to bring in on it, I fear even if they did have vile intent, I don't know that we'd be able to stop them. This is my concern.
And she offered to bring Cylindra in, but my thing is Cylindra's very weak, and she knows that this curse weakens those in her condition. If she can bring her into the gate, she can close the gate. She can keep us all captive, and as you said, they could use it for not so good purposes. But I guess we really can't come to a decision like this right now, to be honest. I think we need to get to the artifact, find it, and then figure out from there.
I've got it. We put it in the bag.
Oh.
Will I have little undead fish like just float around in the bag?
Alright, well, I think we're all agreed that we still need to find the artifact. Who we let in on it, I don't know. I think Wakanga, while one of the princes, as it is, seems to have been, at least to us, very friendly and tolerant of our activities.
Don't be no offense, Ulfgar, but nobilities are usually friendly when it suits them.
Well,
This is true.
we could go to the Emerald Enclave. There are peoples that we could contact northeast of Port Nyanzaru. There's another town there that we could potentially try and see if they have further direction.
And to be fair, she didn't really tell us anything different than we already knew where it was. I mean, we already knew it was down in by Omu. She didn't really tell us any specifics, so at this point, I don't think she has any more information to offer than what we already have. The way she's acting, I really don't think she has any more detailed information.
I think her offer to help is more, I'm willing to take it off your hands.
Yeah, I just say we go. We just leave.
I'd rather not make an enemy of it, though.
Oh, we can send you down there by yourself.
Right.
Rattle the cage when you get stuck in it.
Aye, if things go badly, you'll see a swarm of bats come up. Alright, well, I'll go talk to the lass, and perhaps we see if we can stay up here for the night and head out in the morning. Continuing on our normal path then, unless anybody has any objections.
Nope.
Okay.
Does somebody need to go with you down there?
I'll be alright. I've done negotiations before. And he walks his way down the steps back into Valindra's lair, as it is.
Okay, before we do that, instructing Arokh to take a position on top of the tree, the solo tree, up above.
Okay, so he's like perched up there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Ready to breath weapon all the bats to death. They're in
Yeah, maybe
Oh,
don't
nice.
stand directly underneath that one. Okay, so yeah, make your way back down the steps. And as you enter the cave, Vilandra is getting up from her death. And she walks over to you and says, oh, that was fast. Hopefully you have good news for me.
He walks in and says, well, we've come to an indecision.
Oh.
I believe that we're both on the same side. You're not fond of the undead menace, correct?
Correct.
And you seek the soulmonger.
Absolutely.
I think that much we can both be agreed upon. As far as destroying it, our group, including myself, have questioned whether or not that is ultimately a wise choice. And currently, I think that we've come to the thought that we need to reconsider it. At this point, I think we might. But we also think that it might be too early for us to ultimately decide. Situations may change as we travel and find out more information. But otherwise, we will take your offer under heavy consideration and keep that with us as we go. Is there a way that we can contact you?
She says, I can see that I need to earn your trust. She gets up and she walks over to the bookshelves, and starts, she's got there's all kinds of bits and pieces on these shelves, and she's got her back to you, and she's kind of rifling through them a little bit, looking for something. Mm-hmm. And after a couple of minutes, she says, "Oh, here it is."
This whole conversation, Ulfgar is scrutinizing her with, watching for anything and everything. Very suspicious, but yet trying to be as open and friendly as he possibly can.
Why don't you make an insight check then?
Oh, sorry, I just...
make an insight check? Or do your conversation?
13.
I'll probably do also insight check.
Hang on one second, let me look at one thing.
With her back turned, I throw my dagger. No.
What?
Just wait.
What'd you do? Where'd you go?
Nerevar's in the cage. Arokh is dead in the puddle, and Ulfgar is being strangled out. So yeah, where have you been? No, I'm kidding.
She seems to be being quite open and honest with you.
Okay.
So she's kind of going through shelves, and after a couple of minutes she says, "Here it is." And she brings over to you a little stone. It's almost perfectly round. It's, not particularly deep. It's just maybe an inch kind of thick, and it's almost like a big chunky coaster or something like that. It's kind of, a little bit maybe kind of palm size.
Okay.
And it just looks like a granite stone. And she says, you have the look of one who might be familiar with a little arcane. Says, are you familiar with Sending Stone?
I have heard of them.
She says, I have the partner to this stone on my shelf. She says, why don't you take this, and if you need to get back in touch with me, you can simply use this stone.
What are its limitations? Meaning, how often can I use it?
Yeah, let me look, actually. I should probably know this, but I don't. Sanding stone. We'll look. So she says, your message does need to be brief. She says, and you can use it 3 times per day.
Aye. Right.
But she says it works across any distance.
Okay. And if we're on another plane of existence?
She says, well, let's not hope you go that far. She says, but my understanding is that it will still work. But I think there is a small chance of failure in that case. But it should work.
Very well. Thank you. If there's any other information that you're able to obtain and send to us, I would imagine that you'd be able to send a message to us as well.
She says, well, at that point, the relationship seems very one-sided. Me giving you all the information and you not trusting me at all. She says, how do I know that I can trust you? She says, maybe you want the artifact for your own nefarious reason.
This is true. And I just wanted to know if the stone worked both ways was all.
He says, yes, it does. Says, but if you're not going to agree to an alliance with me, she says, then I won't be sharing any further information with you.
Well, I never said that. I only said that we are reconsidering our position currently. I can't say that we actually all have agreed to it, as we are questioning our current situation. Ultimately, our objective is to save lives in this case. If it comes down to it, and it's unavoidable, and we have the opportunity, the Soulmonger will be destroyed. But I think that we all hope that it won't come to that.
She says, in this case, unfortunately, no answer is the same as a negative. She says, so while we may ultimately have the same kind of goal, says if you don't agree to work with me, then your indecision is the same as not agreeing to.
And he's still holding on to the stone out in front of him. He hasn't like tucked it away or anything. He'd say, well, you'll have to forgive me, but I don't see the value of the alliance. I haven't seen anything short of a way of us communicating over distance.
She says, you're the one who said that they still wanted to stay in touch.
Aye, and I thought that would be in case we were able to talk, send you some information. Perhaps you might be able to best use it and help us. Thus, we'd be able to help each other.
She says, you seem to have a lot of ideas that you've already come to the conclusion on, even though you know little more than I do.
This is true.
She says, in fact, I think I knew more than. She says, you thought Ras Nasi was the master of the Soulmonger.
And you think that it's not, and neither of us have anything to provide proof to the other.
She says, true. No proof. Again, I can see that I need to earn your trust, just as you do mine.
Aye, and I thought we'd best do that by staying in touch. The fact that you have these sending stones is a convenient thing. If you don't wish to share one with me, I understand that, but I would rather like to try and share the information that we are able to come across with you.
She says, yeah, and I appreciate that, and that is why I give you this item that is of some value. She says, I ask for nothing in return. Says, but if you don't agree to be in an alliance with me, then it's kind of a one-way street, I'm afraid.
Well, I don't see how we'd be at odds otherwise. We don't have the intention of destroying it upon finding it, and I think we want to find out the circumstances of which it exists before we're able to make that decision.
She says, very well.
Okay. Well, do you mind if we stay above for the night? We'll be taking our leave in the morning.
She says, I'm quite unused to having guests, let alone overnight guests.
All right, then we'll head off to another spot.
She says, okay. She says, I look forward to your decision on whether to stay in touch or whether to do this or that. Or she's like, and she kind of walks back over to her desk while she's like,
okay,
saying this.
All right, thank you very much. And he'll put it in his pocket for the moment and walk out.
Okay.
Head back up top and regroup with the peoples. Hui. And he'll tell the rest of the group, and he'll have the sending stone. He'll pull it out in his hand. Excuse me, and say, "She gave me a sending stone, a way that we can send short messages back and forth a few times a day. Though I don't think she's exactly ecstatic about our indecision at this point. She wants us to commit, and I could understand that. But then again, neither party knows anything about each other. We've not heard of her, she's not heard of us. We claim to be from one faction or another, and I understand her position. She is also not fond of us staying on her floating stone, so it's probably best if we take to the ground for the evening." And he'd take the sending stone and he'd give it to Valia and say, "Would you mind putting this in your bag?" And he's like pointing at the bag of holding.
Sure. I just open it and chunk it in. And, okay. Then I guess we should be off.
Aye.
Okay. So your path. Anything anybody else wants to do before we move away from this chunk of rock?
I'd like to turn into an invisible mist and go and explore everything about that place below without getting caught, and I also don't have those spells.
Okay, so so I think that's a no.
I guess so.
Alright.
You can collect a little bit of that red liquid from the roots.
Yeah.
It looks like it's just rusty water to me, but mineral-rich water. But you're welcome to check it out if you like. Perhaps it truly is the blood of her sacrificed enemies.
Alright, let's move you back to the map. Yeah, you could certainly... Right, you've got to do one chunk at a time because of the way Roll20 works, at least as far as I know. So you could certainly collect some of that water, though. if you want.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that.
Kadok. All right then. So what we arrived here kind of a little after lunchtime.
Mm-hmm.
And the time, so it's getting kind of like 4 or 5-ish in the afternoon. So the sun is getting a little low in the sky, but you could certainly kind of make some progress away. Let me actually zoom in on this and clear away some of these hexes because we've now been flying over the top. Not that, not that. Trying not to click on that X. There we go.
Delete the X.
There we go. Okay. So it is kind of swampy forest below you.
Mm-hmm.
Okie doke. So, so what's your plan as far as what to do next?
I guess try and head in the direction of the shipwreck, but look for a spot that we could probably crash for the night along the way.
Okay. There we go. Alright, so travel for a couple more hours.
Sure.
Till the sun sets in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll probably get like a little bit further in this direction. Wait, and you begin to see what looks like the other end of the Aldani Basin. You saw like one end when you were visiting Nanny Poo Poo all those weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now you believe that this is the other end. So, can you like ping on them? Well, couple of hours will probably get you like right to this edge.
Okay.
Okay, doke. Actually, what I need is your player token, which I left all the way back over here. So let me drag that.
Oh, she left you behind.
Not again. No.
Okay, so let me hold on, Basin. So as you're traveling kind of over the edge of it, you can see some movement below from different creatures, and some of them look like they're bipedal.
Okay. I'd be curious to find out if they might be friendly humanoids. But I think I would want to approach somewhat stealthily in case I'm shot at.
Okay. Alright. So there's a... 1 second, let me look at this. Okay. As you get a little bit closer, you get a clearer look, and you thought they were bipedal, but actually it's more like they're just upright, because these folk look quite strange, like you're still fair distance away, but it looks like they kind of have like a tail at the bottom of their legs that is stretched out behind them a little bit. Like it's like a big, thick tail. Almost like a sideways kind of fishtail. Or they look very strange, and the top of their body looks very bulky.
Very what?
Bulky?
Hmm.
Like it's like, very kind of wide and like a...
So are they like a snake person, or?
Do you want to go in closer?
Or a fish, or a land-based fish man? Like I said, I wanted to get close enough so I could see what they are, if they're a race that is typically known for being peaceful or not, and see if I can I guess even see if I could hear any language.
You go. So as you get close enough to see them,
Holy
that's-
crap. Wow, okay. That was not what I was expecting. Wow.
So you see a small group of these are traveling kind of around the basin area.
Okay.
And they look up at you and yeah, they're a bit like they seem to be keeping an close eye on you. They're watching what you're doing.
Do I
just yell ahead at Ulfgar. Nope.
do I hear them actually talking to each other or see with them communicating? I would imagine they don't use sign language.
You can't really hear without
Okay.
getting quite a lot closer.
I guess I really wouldn't want to pop the tent around this place. Maybe a little bit further away from these Eldani crabmen. But then again, they might have information. Oh. So, I guess Ulfgar is going to say, I'm going to try and communicate with them and see if they're friendly. And he'll put on...
I just shake my head. Don't do it.
He'll do comprehend languages. And cast it on himself. And try speaking to them at a distance in common. Trying to, like... Would you stop? Get out of here. Trying to, stay, like, near a tree or something like that, so it looks more like he's, like, in the tree, maybe even using some of it for cover. Just calling to them, saying, "Ho there, I am Ulfgar. Might I speak with any of you?"
Can you put comprehend languages, a description up for me, please?
Sure. It just allows me to understand them if they speak, but
Okay.
There we go. You want up?
Okay. So they do speak back to you actually, in common.
Okay.
Wait, and what did you say? Sorry, can you say what you said to them one more time?
My name is Ulfgar. I'm curious to know if you mind if we speak with if I come down to speak with you.
They say, "Flying short man, why are you in our lands?"
I guess I just shout from there. We're passing through. We don't intend to stay. Have you seen undead? I'll keep it rather simple.
They say, "We think you should leave."
Okay then, we will. Thank you. And he'll just kind of take off and rejoin the group and tell them, well, they speak common and they didn't attack. They said that we should leave, so I think we should continue on a bit further. Perhaps maybe go a bit into the past the basin a bit more, at least this area. I don't think that we're going to be too welcome. I think that was as welcoming as they were interested in being.
Okay, so you're gonna fly on a bit further.
That's what I'm suggesting. I don't think anybody's gonna object. Maybe.
Nope. I'm ready to go.
Okay, so it is kind of starting to get dark now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that you see, yeah, kind of the edge of what looks like kind kind of tributary. Maybe it's connected to the one end of the Aldani Basin. You're not quite sure without following it further.
Mm-hmm. Does it look like there's a spot we could potentially rest? Be safe? Ish? I mean, a place that we can make camp. How's that?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I mean, you could have stopped where you were before, right? It's just.
I didn't really want to get pissed off by giant crabmen. Or get attacked by giant crabmen.
Yeah, you could stay at the edge of the river.
Okay.
Looks like as good a place as any. Little stream.
There we go. Yeah, that sounds great.
Smallish river, I guess. Okay, so you fly on a bit further and land and make camp for the night. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. That's all right. So let's do a quick survival check from Kellisto. See if she can provide food. I'm sure she can. Oh no, she cannot. Callisto's like, this is a pretty weird area. I'm used to this wildlife at all.
We start digging into the rations given to us by the...
Yeah, I'm not... she doesn't particularly want to get closer to the lobster man. So no, she's not into the hunting tonight. Okay. So you're setting up the...
Yes. Setting up
hut.
the small hut. Yes, the magical hut.
Thank you.
Magical hut of safe sleepings.
Okay.
Probably the most used spell the entire campaign so far.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, as you're kind of coming in for a landing, you do startle a small group of velociraptors.
Oh, doggone it.
And they kind of take a bit of a defensive stance. They kind of scatter at first, and then they group back up together, and they're kind of like watching you, like as you're coming in to land.
I do a major image to make myself look like a giant pterodactyl or pteranodon or whatever, and make it look like I'm really scary and I'm gonna pick them up and eat them.
Okay. Yeah, they run away. That's not a difficult decision for them. They abandon ship and yeah. Okay. So with them out of the way, there's no reason that you could not continue with your plan to make camp.
Okay.
Okay.
Camp plan.
So hang on 1 second. I'm just going to clear this up a little bit. So once you make camp, set up your
Oops. Doggone it. That's my bad. I didn't know that you were gonna
set up your hut. Everybody kind of huddles inside as the rain is a lot heavier this evening. It's coming down pretty strongly now, and you're all pretty soggy from flying around in it. But you do think, with the progress that you've made so far, that you should be able to, pick up in the morning and make it to the shipwreck, by tomorrow. So,
cool.
So the rest of the night, aside from your encounter with the velociraptors, the rest of the night passes without any further incident. Just have the rain to deal with. So the morning arrives as usual. And are you doing anything before you set out?
Eating breakfast. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then let me start clearing away hexes. As you travel further. Oh, that. Oh, wait, no, not that. Oh my gosh. That. Delete. Okay. As you travel the rest of the day. So, let me know if anything pops up on the map that you would like to stop and have a look at further.
I see there's more river, and it goes into like some hills, and then there's forest and stuff.
Yep. Okay.
Nope.
So, close that. Close that. Okay, so as you're traveling towards, you start to get closer and closer. You get a better look at what you could see before, and it is you see chunks of a wooden vessel caught high in the branches of an especially tall tree. It looks like there's three main chunks, and it kind of resembles a ship. But the closer you get, the more you can see that there are differences that mark it as clearly not a seagoing vessel. So this thing has never seen the water. The stern.
Airship.
Mm-hmm.
The stern is the lowest piece, hanging precariously by its rigging, about 50 feet above the ground. The middle section appears to be about 15 feet higher, and the bow section is firmly wedged into a nest of branches about 10 feet above that. And I'd like you all to make a perception check, please.
Okie doke.
Or can you do a perception check, Tobias?
Yeah, of course.
He was doing the environment again with like the jungle birds.
What was that? Investigation or perception?
Perception.
Perception?
Yeah, much better.
Okay. So you all see on some different bits of the deck, there are humanoid figures.
Are they in any kind of state of like, oh my gosh, we're dying or something, or
They do seem to be
in distress? There you go.
yes, they do seem to be in distress. They're all kind of like most of them are like laying on what's left of their ship. So they're kind of like laying down.
Right. I guess I say it looks like they might be in distress. I'm gonna fly in for a closer look. And he starts flying in for a closer look. Anybody joining? Or are you waiting?
Yeah, I'll come in just a little bit.
So I'll get closer to see if they're like people are bleeding and dying and stuff, or if they're like under attack, or if they're actual humans, or a bunch of flying dwarves like myself. Perhaps a lizardfolk is in there, a few centaurs in a tree.
Okay.
And actually, Tobias would like to try to determine if that will be a military ship or a more normal cruise vessel.
Well, I know it's at least a 3-floor vessel, even if it wasn't before.
Here I'm going to take you over to the map. So I have a map of this. So, okay.
Ooh, map time. Zoom out and geez, how far out do I need to zoom?
Hang on, you've got all black because you don't have a token on there, and
That's all right. You're
you
fixing
know, let me just switch the page. Settings.
Can I scroll? Why won't I? Oh, that's not a scroll bar. Ha 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 ha. Let's zoom in a
What's
bit.
that?
I'm just talking to myself. I'm trying to scroll the page, and that's not a scroll bar.
Okay. Hang on. Let me just do this, and then I can just reveal areas that. Ooh. Okay. Does that work?
I thought I was zoomed out far. No, I still see black.
Oh. Okay.
Think you need
Maybe
to grant us vision or something, or?
I think I need to get your tokens over here.
Okay.
One moment, because you were way the heck over here.
Are we supposed to see the entire page?
Yeah, I think you can, right? Because you're,
I think Fog of War might be turned on.
yeah, but even when it wasn't, you couldn't see, so.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, one moment.
No worries.
I'll get you sorted.
Get sorted.
And my computer is running so slow. Come on.
Excuse me.
Oh, Roll20's acting silly because I accidentally closed it and had to reopen it, and it took forever.
I think Roll20 acts very slow when we've got dynamic lighting stuff going on.
Oh, it's extra. I think it's my computer right now is extra slow.
Maybe a combination.
I've got something running in the background or something. I forgot about
Windows update.
Copy. Okay. Good.
Could be
Almost
just
there.
Discord going, no.
Almost there.
That's right, I've got a pug on my lap right now, snoozing on my arm.
I'm gonna paste
All
you
is
guys
good.
up here.
Oh my goodness.
Did that help?
Yes.
Okay, thank goodness. I got everybody.
Uh,
I think I have. Okay.
looks like it. Wow.
I picture that a little bit differently.
That's a mess.
There you go. So that's kind of what you see. See some
I expected it to be a little bit more whole.
Whoever the pilot is needs to get fired. Or was. I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
Not only did they crash the ship, they skewered it in 3 places.
Judgy. Jeez. Okay, so you can see you've got some survivors. 2 kind of on the chunks of deck over here. 1, and then second one, and then you've got 4 on this main area here.
Okay.
Okay. And just a quick thing. I'm going to re-describe, right? So this piece is the lowest piece,
Okay.
and that is 50 feet above ground.
Okay.
And this piece is the next highest piece, and that is 65 feet off the ground. And then this chunk here is the very highest piece, and that is 75 feet above the ground.
Okay.
So, and as you kind of swoop in for a closer look, you hear a weak voice call out and says, "Hello up there, can you help us?"
Obviously it doesn't quite look like this is an ambush setup for flying dwarves. So I might fly in closer and see if I can recognize the garments, people, whatever like that, and say, "Are you all right down there?" as I'm flying in closer.
They say, "Not really. We are in need of assistance."
We might be able to try and get each of you to the ground. Do you have any injured?
She says, "Not specific injuries, but we've been many days without food and water now."
Right. So you've been stuck up here then.
She says, yes.
How did you get a ship in the air? This far out here? Were you cursed by some kind of evil spellcaster?
She says, sure, let's have a conversation about the logistics of air travel while my fellow crew is dying. That sounds great.
He's just concerned that he's going to be struck by something as well. So what does he see of the people? Do they look like they're humans?
Let's have a look. Yes, they look humans. The person that's talking to you is this person right here.
Okay.
And she is a female. She's a lady.
Mm-hmm.
She looks, from her dress and kind of her command, she looks like she's a bit higher ranking in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Then, yep, the rest, everybody else is, see, yep, the rest are men.
Okay. How safe is it for your ship to stay where it's at? Is it going to? Do you think it's got risk of falling?
She says, the longer we stay up here, the more likely, but so far, as long as we don't move around too much, it seems like it's not going to fall immediately.
I think having a rock land on that piece might be bad for them.
Do you have any food stores that you can't access? We might be able to get those for you.
She says, no, we've eaten it all.
Oh, right. Well then, 4 of you, come on to the edge, and I'll cast a spell on you that should help get you to the ground quickly. And safely as well. But be aware that it might not be safe. In fact, let me go scout it out quick. And he'd zoom down to the surface just to make sure that there's no, like, T-Rex just sitting underneath with its mouth open.
Okay.
I guess while he's doing that, if I see the other part over here, like over this area, I'm gonna make my way over there to check on this people.
Okay. Hang on one second. I just want to read one thing quick. And you do see that, like, so even though her fellow crew members are aware that she's now talking to somebody, they're kind of like, they're not like all getting up or anything. They kind of like prop themselves up, you know, to look up at you, and just a weakness is like obvious on their faces. Their skin is kind of drawn and you know, they just look like they can, you know, that movement is very difficult for them. In fact, they are that exhausted
Okay.
and weak from lack of food and water.
Okay.
Well, mostly food. You do see that they've got a few kind of bits set up where they've been trying to catch rainwater. They haven't died of thirst, but they are kind of at death's door from lack of food. So over here, you see there's 2 men. Again, they're in kind of the same predicament where they're having difficulty kind of getting to their feet because they are so weak. So that's kind of over on this section here. And that section, it does seem to be like, it looks like if the ropes weren't all entangled, that the weight of it would just kind of snap what's left here, and it would kind of tumble to the ground. So it looks like the ropes are, you know, kind of what's holding it up there.
Okay.
Okay. So, Ulfgar, as you kind of zoom to the ground, you do see some movement below. And as you get a bit closer, you see there are some undead who appear to have gathered around the bottom of the tree, perhaps aware of who is above or the potential meal that is above. And there are some ghouls lurking around the bottom of the tree. They're not being particularly shy, but actually make a perception check.
Okay.
Jeez, aren't you glad you just didn't float them down there?
Yep. May not have been a T-Rex, but it's not that much better.
So the ghouls each have a small blue triangle tattooed on their forehead.
Have I seen this symbol before?
Yes, you have.
When?
On other ghouls, actually.
Really? They had a blue triangle on their forehead?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's... Okay.
I think you've only seen it once before, if I remember right.
We've only fought ghouls, I think, maybe once before, but I didn't know that it had a triangle on its head. Okay. So I'd fly back up, and I'd call for Aelia and the others and say, "We've got a situation down below. If we're to rescue these ones, we've got to clear the ground area. They're undead." And I'm sure that word alone would summon forth a certain centaur on the scene.
Yeah. Aelia will definitely be all over dispatching them. So yeah, she kind of goes in very gracefully, kind of canters to a landing, and immediately casts Turn Undead with the intent of destroying them. And they are going to make a collective kind of saving throw. It's a Wisdom or Constitution. I forget which one. I can look if you don't.
I don't know.
Turn Undead. I can never remember.
Yeah, I don't even have it on my all spells spell book, because it's a ability.
Oh, I thought you had. I see the player's guide now. I thought you had it.
Sorry, I do have it.
Oh, you do? Okay. That's alright. I'm almost there. It's Wisdom. Okay. Alright, so there are 8 of them. So
they're all ghouls?
They are all ghouls. So let's do this. Fail. Fail. Oh, okay, that one passes. So she's got 1 pass. Where's that 1, 2, 6, 7. 1 more. Okay, so she's got 2 who have succeeded. The rest of them, I think it turned because... Hang on, I need to look at her sheet quick. Because I think they're too high a challenge rating to...
Darn clerics.
Let me go back and look at the description again one more time.
Ulfgar would be backing her up as well. Especially if she decides to land.
Okay. So these, yeah, okay, so they're 2. So they are just turned, which does mean that they're going to spend their turn moving as far away as they can. So they basically run about 60 feet away from the tree. They kind of scatter away from this big wave of divine energy that issues forth from Aelia.
And that's all of them?
Except for 2 who stand there and shriek at you.
Hooray!
And they will run in on Aelia. And let's see her AC. Okay. So they're going to they're going to claw at Aelia.
That's a pretty good
That
claw.
So, okay, so both hit, and Aelia must now make a Constitution saving throw.
Yay.
So up above, you all hear some sounds of a fight below.
And
There's a shriek, there's a couple of shrieks, and
Ulfgar calling for assistance.
Okay, so she succeeds the first one, but then obviously fails the second one. So, so the first one, she seems to kind of shrug off some of the damage. But the second one, she's overcome by the kind of toxicity of the ghoul, and you can see paralysis begins to kind of take hold of Aelia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so does anybody else want to? Well, Ulfgar, you're right there, so you want to take a swing back at these two ghouls?
I would like to
do anything. You don't have to fight them, obviously.
I would like to basically call for assistance and sound my horn to give inspiration to Aelia.
Okay.
And then I would like to Thunder Wave at the two that came into attack her.
Okay.
Hold on.
So they get a con saving?
I think so. Hold on a second. It didn't actually say what spell level I was casting it at. I wanted to do it at level... Oh, it's a hit. That's why. My bad. I want to do it at level 3. Con save DC 15.
Okay.
Or take 15 thunder damage.
Fails. Second ghoul also fails. So they both fail, and they're pushed away from Aelia.
Yep.
And they do take a chunk of damage. They are still standing, though. So Aelia, does anybody else want to travel down to
You hear the
to assist?
doot of his horn, followed by
Doot.
loud Fus Roda, full strength. Because that goes out to at least 300 feet for people to hear it.
Yeah, I'm gonna start making my way down.
Okay.
I would hope that artist Dragonbait and Callisto would also.
The two mostly dead ghouls.
The rest of them will probably turn around soon.
Okay, so let's see. Yeah, artists and Dragonbait will begin descending. Yeah, and Callisto's going to go as well. Valia and Tobias, how about you and Arokh? Are you...
Yeah, we're definitely going to join the fight.
Okay. So, Valia, as you're kind of turning to descend, you see movement out of kind of the corner of your eye, and 3 hulking beasts are swinging from tree to tree as they make their way through the branches directly kind of towards the wreckage. And yeah,
I guess I'll try to hopefully maybe cut them off and then just yell back, "We have more problems."
Yay!
In the trees, there's other things. I I don't know what to do. I think I just yell at these guys like, you know, try to get close away from the edges as much as you can.
Get away from
Okay.
the edges?
The edges of the ships. Or ship pieces.
Oh, wait, so these things were up in the sky, up in the tree?
They're
The ones that I
swinging
just saw,
out.
yeah, they're swinging.
Jeez, oh, Pete's. I think I just sounded the dinner alarm.
Yeah, I yell at, see if I can, if I have time, yell at Tobias, see if he can get a rock to start maybe trying to take some of these people down. As much as it doesn't seem safe, it's safer than up here, because if those things, you know, we know it's weak, and like I said, if they move too much, it might fall, so.
Can do.
So yeah, those ones that were turned are turned for 1 minute.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so they will just keep running. Okay, so you've got Artis and Artis, Dragonbait, and Kellisto kind of mid-travel. Because remember, you are like at least 50 feet off the ground, right? So they're kind of mid-travel down to where you are with Aelia.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tobias, sorry, you were also heading down as well, right?
Yeah, but going to take those that jumping.
Okay. So let me show you what you see heading towards you, Valia. So
Oh, jeez.
Oh, jeez.
this is what you see swinging through the trees towards you. They look fierce and mad as hell.
A bit undead.
Oh, boy.
And actually, I think we're going to do a little bit of like a cliffhanger there, and we're going to leave it there for tonight. So the look of fear that comes across the crew's face is kind of equal to the look of exhaustion that they had previously. So it's yeah, they're very worried about what is going to head their direction. These things that are swinging towards them.
Hooray. All right.
Maybe we should have left them to die. It would have been better than get eaten by undead things.
Well, just remember, we still can.
We could just fly away. We could just be like, bye.
Not without some serious alignment discussions.
I think I'm pretty much on the verge of alignment, rearrangement. So.
Yeah, not so much for Valia, more for Ulfgar and Tobias might be
All right. Okay.
teetering on the edge of leaving their good nature behind.
Indeed. Indeed. All right. Well, thanks again, viewers and players, for coming out for another Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Tomb of Annihilation. Tune in next time to find out if we get our first TPK. And for those unfamiliar with that term, it's a total party kill. This seems like the perfect storm for it. So, we'll all see you guys next time. Bye!
Bye.